You said something profound, that liberalism, I'm going to paraphrase it, but liberalism is not a civilization, it's a system. It seems to me that it's these protocols, it's liberal democracy and corporate capitalism, emancipatory morals and so forth. And it seemed like they had to penetrate the family as the primary mechanism of this ideological transference. I was thinking when you were describing it, it reminds me a lot of how unconscious we are to the things that are normal and so forth. It's almost like the grammar of our language. It's just, we don't even think about it. We just do it. But there are people who are very cognizant of the grammar of language and or at least terms, and want to change it.
So just a quick thing on that.
Yeah.
So notice how we preface it with liberal democracy. There's no reason we couldn't just have democracy.
Right.
One of the things they're freaking out about Viktor Orban over is that they're saying, well, this is illiberal democracy. It's like, okay, but what's the bad part?
Right.
People of Hungary still have the power of selection of their rulers.
Right.
Which was really the great thing about democracy. It's like, no, we're going to make sure that we're not oppressed by a tyrant that we can't remove. No, the people of Hungary have absolutely got the power of selection, and they did for a period of time select not him as their president, right?
Right.
But they've selected him again because they felt that he was the best guy. Okay.
And again.
And again, right? But they call him a dictator, but he's obviously not a dictator. He's obviously an elected leader. He's obviously the product of democracy. The issue that they have is, well, he's not a liberal. It's like, okay, but where did I sign up for an ideology?
Exactly.
This is a faith. I didn't say I was going to be a liberal, and if I choose not to be a liberal, that's my choice.
Yeah.
You can't make me be a liberal.
Right.
And this,
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And so what?
And you're liberal and you have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of the things that Herbert Marcuse was complaining about in One Dimensional Man. He was saying, look, it's not even that we're just materialists, it's that we don't have any scope outside of the liberal democracy. You're not allowed to think outside of it, right? You're not allowed to be outside of it.
Right.
And he, even though he's a communist, he had to kind of admit that having a two-dimensional society was how we allowed transcendence to manifest in society. Like he gives a great example of that. If you're listening to like Beethoven in an elevator, right, the little elevator music of one of Beethoven's symphonies, there's nothing transcendent about that. Right? What you need is exclusiveness. What you need is a giant concert hall with a professional orchestra that you've had to pay $200 for the ticket for. So it's not for everyone.
You need the sanctity, the separatedness, the set apartness.
And also the community of people who understand why they're participating in this. If you want to engage with the transcendental aspect of Beethoven, to have it in an elevator makes it common, makes it plebeian, makes it material, and makes it worthless. And even
generic.
Even he admitted, this is actually not good. And this is kind of what I was asking for all along. With the universal nature of communism and liberalism. So it's like, there's an issue here.
Right.
This idea that it has to be a liberal democracy, which means a universal democracy, right? It's for every single
that's the key.
Yeah,
but it's not linked to a civilization. It's scalable to the world because it belongs to no one. That's the supposed.
That's exactly it. It belongs to nobody. That's the point.
Right.
And this is the issue they have, because in Hungary, what's happening that's bad? Well, nothing really.
Everybody who I know who goes there is like, this place is great. I love it.
Right?
I was just talking to a Dane who was just saying, I spent weeks there. I love it.
But if you're a gay couple who want to adopt a baby, you're probably, I can't do that.
Right.
Okay.
And?
Yeah. So,
Can't do it in Saudi Arabia either.
Yeah, exactly, right. But, that you don't have a right to be able to adopt a baby.
Right.
There's no intrinsic human right to adopt a baby. This is a privilege that we give you because of a particular interpretation of liberalism that we have.
Right.
It's not good for the baby.
Right.
You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone who's thinking of the best interest of the baby, so will have to stay with his mother and biological father.
Yeah.
They should get married, in fact. That would be the best thing for that baby. This is now for the almost the vanity of the couple. It's like you feel like you want children. It's like, well, I feel like I should be 6.5 foot tall and join the basketball league. But it's not going to happen because I'm 5'9". I'm never going to dunk.
That's 4 inches taller than I am.
Yeah. I'm never going to dunk, right? I would like to have been a basketball player, but it's not going to happen, and I just have to accept that.
You brought up you're playing off of something here that you brought up that I thought was so good, because I came across this before. There's something about the wokeness, for lack of a better term. I guess the technical term, isn't it? I think it's progressive socialism. I think that's the technical term.
Intersectionality is the
Intersectionality.
is the academic term they use.
Do you notice how the lack of reciprocity? It is inherently malignant narcissist. It's you must accommodate me, but I am under no obligation to do comparable to you.
That's because you're oppressive.
Yes,
Right. So
right.
Anything that the over society has that the under society doesn't have, that's a form of abuse.
Yes.
As far as they can say.
Yeah.
But sorry, I don't agree that that's correct. Actually.
And it's inherent, and as you pointed out, it has its own futility built in that there's no civilization to it whatsoever.
They can't reproduce.
They can't. That's right.
They recruit.
They recruit.
And this is why they're so obsessed with taking control of the ideological state apparatus.
Right.
The churches, the schools, the universities, primarily are the outside of the family. They're the primary institutions through which the ideology of the civilization is transmitted to young people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why there's pride flags on every goddamn one of them.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and that from a nativist point of view, you should be like, no.
Right,
You're going to have is, you know, I mean, you know, what in primary schools it'd be mum, dad, and the kids that the kids would draw pictures of and put on the walls, right? Now it's a pride flag. It's
Right,
like you can see
right.
how the inversion of the civilization from the sort of the trunk of the familial family, the nuclear family that generates the greatness of our civilization. Well, the sap's been drawn out of that. And it's been replaced with a pride flag. And it's like,
Right.
but that'll die.
Right.
That won't produce future generations.
Whereas St. George's flag is all about slaying dragons. It's about telling young men this is who you are. You're a dragon slayer.
Yeah.
And you're there to rescue virtue.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And why is the prince slaying the dragon so he can save the princess?
Exactly.
So they can have a family and live happily ever after.
Happily ever after.
They can have their children and pass on the story of civilization to the next generation.
Yeah.
And so the problem with all of the marginal issues that we are constantly deluged with all day, every day, is they are not reproductive.
Right.
They do not produce a new generation for the future. And so what a parent and what a family does is they build up sort of what we could call sort of civilizational capital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, these are I'm putting into the system for my children that they can benefit, and then when they grow up, they can put in for their children. Well, the people who are not reproducing are just burning up that stock.
Yeah.
They're not storing it up for
You're
future
right.
generations. They are, in fact, taking out of
It's
it.
parasitic, quite literally. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't like to use the term parasitic, but honestly, I can't think of a better one. Right?
I know, right?
You know, it's hard to soften the blow, but it's like, no, you really are taking from people without giving back.
Right,
You know?
right.
And that's what a parasite does.
And it just seems to me that what brings it all together is the notion that civilization, by definition, deals with the transcendent. It deals with the true, the good, the beautiful. It deals with that which can't be exhausted in any particular thing, because it is it extends beyond space and time. Right.
I think a healthy civilization does.
Yeah. No. But that would. So that's. Oh. So let me close the loop here.
Yeah.
And what makes wokeness, what ultimately is its built-in futility, is it is not transcendent. Case in point, Snow White.
Oh, yes.
The latest, I knew I would get you. And God bless UK theaters that were empty all weekend.
Oh,
I saw that.
everyone's were.
The Daily Mail was publishing that. It was just everywhere.
American theaters completely empty. Like.
But so Snow White is exactly the St. George story in many respects. And it is young men killing dragons, saving the maiden, who is the picture of virtue. And then by encountering virtue, we become virtuous in slaying the dragon. And so going all the way back to the Genesis narrative.
What I love about Snow White, though, is it's the story of the prince saving the princess from the woman's perspective.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so this is why, like, my wife loves Disney films, especially the old ones, because she's a woman. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
this,
absolutely,
You know, I don't care about Snow White.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I've not got any interest in it whatsoever. So,
Right.
like, but I'm seeing this huge reaction against Snow White. And it's not from men my age or young men who are playing like Call of Duty or something. They don't give a damn.
Right.
No, it's from women, because this is a woman's story that's being stolen from them.
Because in the end, they're being told, you are Snow White. This is about you. This
Exactly,
is
yeah.
autobiographical, you know. Yeah.
All stories, going back to Aristotle's Poetics, representations of the way reality would be if the premises of the story were true. And you're a person, you're a young woman, you're in the world, you're in the story, it's your story that I'm laying out. This is how it should go for you too. And this is why it's dreamy to women,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
and I totally get it. It's not for me,
Yeah.
but I don't want to take that away
Yeah,
from them.
yeah.
And yet, what's Disney done? It's about Rachel Zegler now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about like defeating the patriarchy. It's about like the prince not coming to save her. It's about the feminist, essentially betrayal of women, and women are furious. Like, I take my son to a boxing club on Saturday, right? Much to my wife hates that I do this, but I'm like, no, darling, you won't get it. Right?
That's right. You will not understand.
He's 10. I want him to get punched in the face.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
got
I
to
love
know,
it.
right?
I love it.
He
Yeah.
loves it as well. He loves it, right? And we ride our bikes down to this boxing club, and on the way back, there was an advert in a bus stop for Snow White, right? But I stopped because someone had written boycott across it, and not before Snow White, and had put like devil horns and a pitchfork on Rachel Zegler. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, because I mean, like, you know, I might make a video or something mocking, oh, look at this Snow White, it's very woke and it's crap, right? But I'm not bothered about it. It's just not me having something stolen from me, right?
Right.
I'm wondering what kind of person got up early on a Saturday morning and was just like, no, I hate this.
You're right, right.
Because my wife hates it for the same reasons. You know?
Right. So in other words, I'm not doing graffiti. This poster is graffiti. I'm just covering up the graffiti, or I'm just continuing it or finishing it.
I am going to make sure that my voice against this is heard. You know?
But the brilliance of it all, it seems to me, again, the way it kind of all comes together is that in the end, it's futile, because you can travel the world and cultures going all the way back. You'll find hero's journeys in all kinds of cultures. You'll find the dragon being slain, and same thing. You can search the whole of human history. You will never find anything like wokeness.
Well,
it's not transcendent.
Hang on. No, you will. It's the villain. The wokeness is the villain.
So there's
in all
the
of these
peripheral
stories.
coming into the center.
The wokeness is always the perspective of the bad guy. And this is why you look at like a lot of their stories, like Maleficent, right? They're trying to do the evil stepmother, but as her like hero's journey.
Right,
It's like,
right.
No, that's the villain's journey.
Right.
And what you're trying to do is rehabilitate the villain.
So it's almost like the Gnostics of old, who made the serpent the hero in the garden narrative. It's kind of flipping it on its head.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't touch the heart.
Because
it's about themselves.
Yeah,
It's selfish. The
Yeah.
villain's journey is fundamentally the villain extracting and exploiting others.
Right.
Whereas the hero is self-sacrificial
Right,
for someone else's good.
right.
And everyone can feel it on a genuine, emotional and spiritual level.
yeah.
No, this is just wrong, and we've allowed essentially a cabal of villains to take over the storytelling facilities of our civilization and try and infuse that into our children's heads.
And
That is the thing and that really bothers me.